Are you dealing with toxic relationships in the workplace? Do you feel like maybe it's just not the most healthiest place to work, and you're even questioning whether or not you want to stay in the job or not? If so, please listen in. Hi, I'm Carol Bettino, the author of Better Choices, Better Life, and Directions, Your Roadmap to Happiness. Today I have with me my very dear friend, Robin Burke, who has worked with Stepping Stones, which is a shelter and treatment center for abused women, and she works as the administrator in the administration office. But she's worked so many years with people with domestic violence. Our focus isn't on domestic violence, but it is on the toxic workplace. And, you know, if we have toxic food, let's face it, we can just not eat it. If we are in a toxic relationship.
Or if you're like, yeah, I might try it. I might try that. See if maybe it's not that bad.
Or you forgive them and say, it was the last time, but I really love that pizza. I'm going to try it again. I won't get sick. I won't. This is true. But the truth of the matter is, if a relationship is toxic, we can leave it. But workplaces, sometimes we don't have the privilege or the opportunity or the financial situation to just walk away. So we're going to talk about some signs of a toxic workplace and how to maybe deal with it the best way we can. So we're going to start with, I'm going to ask you, Robin, you start first. Just give an example of a toxic workplace.
The biggest thing that I run across with people is in the workplace is over time their job that started out as here's what my job is going to be, here's what we expect from you, so you have a very clear picture of what your job is and what you think you're getting into. But over time they've noticed that really the message they're getting is that job has to be the most important thing in your life. So over time they have added duties to you. It's called toxic creep, and little by little, before you know it, you're doing the job of 4 people, and it happens over time. So all you notice is stress, but yet you have been pulled in, and now you're doing the work of 5 people, and you are also. It becomes taken for granted that you're always available. If you're feeling like they expect you, well, I emailed you at 8 o'clock last night about that, why didn't you do it? And they expect you to be available.
That's excellent, because, you know, that isn't even covert. It may start that way, but it's so overt that you have gotten so used to it that you do tolerate it, and you're afraid to stand up for yourself. And that's where the stress, when we talk about work stress, where does it come from? That's a perfect example of where it comes from. But what comes from that stress a lot of times is the anxiety. And that's when people become fearful. And I always remind people about the word fear. Remember it just as an acronym: false evidence appearing real. All of a sudden you feel like you don't have the right to stand up for yourself and say, I can't work. I'm in a carpool. I can't work. I have to pick up my kid from daycare. I can't work. I have a second job. There are legitimate reasons that you're not being rigid, but legitimate reasons why you cannot continue to take on these jobs. And you have to be able to communicate. And it's very hard when you're trying to communicate with somebody who's not listening. And it's also
to try to do that before it becomes so unbearable that you respond out of anger and rage. That is not, don't let it get that far if you can help it. But I love the word toxic creep, because it does, before you know it, you're having all these emotions, it's become very unmanageable, and you do have to speak up at some point.
That's a great way of kind of looking at tolerance. You know, with any kind of tolerance, even like in addictions, the tolerance is little by little you're tolerating bad behavior. Little by little you're tolerating somebody bullying you. Little by little you're tolerating somebody ignoring your needs. and only caring about their own. And so what happens is you don't realize it. That creep is a good way. They are a creep, and it is the...
They're creepy, and it creeped
up on you. So we have both there. But that's such a great way of saying, well, that's what tolerance does. And if we tolerate bad behavior, we don't stand up for ourselves. And if we don't stand up for ourselves, we allow bad behavior to continue to operate, especially in the workplace.
And these unrealistic expectations you can almost question yourself, like, well, maybe I should be doing all this. Maybe I should. You get the message constantly that you need to be doing more. You need to be staying late. It becomes expected of you.
Yeah.
So you do need to speak up.
And that's where gaslighting comes in. So when we talk about toxic behavior, toxic relationships, it's really saying, look, here's an example of gaslighting in the workplace. You're being led to believe that the way you think and feel is somehow wrong, that they're right and you're wrong. But sometimes people are so afraid of losing their job. That's where the stress and anxiety comes. And we have to realize that sometimes it's not real, it's what's going on, but our fear, we don't have to buy into it. That we can stand up for ourselves and be able to say that is not okay. You know, the job description is this, and you're asking for me to do more. I'm willing to do a little bit more, but what you're asking of me is not realistic.
Yeah, it's okay to be flexible.
Absolutely.
But when it becomes unmanageable, chaotic, and you're feeling pain and stress over it, that's the time to take an inventory of what's happening there. It also makes it, by the time you start feeling like you're afraid to take time off, you're afraid to even ask for vacation time, afraid to be gone for 2 or 3 days, because the culture tells you that work over family, work over your own well-being. By the time, if you're finding double checking yourself, should I really take this vacation or not? Should I really take this time off? You're afraid, then that's an indicator there's something going on.
Right, and that's where we have to realize that that's not where we should be afraid. That's the evidence that appears real, but it's not. That I have a right to be able to stand up and say, I'm taking my vacation on this time, I'm giving you plenty of notice because I have something going on. But also with that, sometimes we see how maybe a supervisor treats somebody else, and we witness that. But what we sometimes have to look at is sometimes that's actually being bullied. And if you allow bullying to happen, everybody that's watching it becomes afraid. So we're seeing a real pattern here that toxic relationships creates fear and stress and anxiety, and it makes people withdraw instead of standing up for themselves and communicating what their needs are. They're afraid to. And that's why sometimes we need to remind ourselves that a lot of places do have human resources, and we need to be able to talk about that. And we need to be able to recognize that I'm not going to just quit a job because it's toxic. It's not like, like we talked about before, the restaurant, I'm not going to go back. So I think it's important that we understand that when they treat other people like that in front of us, or they treat us like that, that's when we need to stand up for ourselves. Because just like we've observed it, other people will observe that it's okay to stand up for yourself. But it is important not to do it ahead of time. Don't let the anger come out, where then you come across like the hostile, insubordinate.
I've told people that come to me that are having these issues to write it down and go through it and kind of practice how they're going to approach it with their supervisor.
Role play
it. It's really important to practice it, because it's less likely that your emotions will creep in and take over, and to be prepared for those conversations. Because there is a good, healthy way of doing that.
Absolutely.
And sticking up for yourself.
That creep thing keeps coming back.
How to deal with creeps when they've creeped. Yeah.
That is really important, because if you think about it, that when we stand up for ourselves, we have to have good, strong, sound self-esteem and confidence. And many times when you're in an environment where you're being intimidated or bullied, it's very hard to have that confidence and stand up. So role-playing can be really good because you can look in the mirror and, go back and forth with it. And what's important with that is for people who will say, I don't like confrontation. Don't think about it as confronting the person. Think about confronting the situation so that you find a solution to it, so that you're not so intimidated.
Yeah. Another one for me is if you are surrounded by people at your job that are doing just enough to get by because they've been beaten down so much. No matter everything we've done, it doesn't get recognized. There's no acknowledgement. It's just harder, more. Keep producing. So you'll find if you're surrounded by people that have kind of been defeated, and so everybody's kind of doing just what's expected of me, nothing more, not excelling. Mediocrity becomes the way, and they have a tendency to talk very negative, like why bother, or you're surrounded by negativity and mediocrity. Be careful of that seeping into your own psyche and what you do at work, and you go, well, they don't acknowledge anybody, and so I'm just gonna do the minimum amount that I can do.
And that's where that quietly quitting has come, and that's
quietly
not
quitting. That's a good one.
But it's not a healthy concept because now it's affecting your sense of values and ethics. That may be the time when it's time to leave that job. And sometimes it's not that easy to leave a job. You may have to buy a little bit of time for whatever your reason is. So it doesn't hurt to keep your resume updated. It doesn't hurt for you to look at the different websites that have job openings, look what's around, because you can leave one job that's like that and find another one that's just like that. So you have to learn, how do I deal with it in my everyday life? And the way to do that is you have to change your attitude on how you think about it and how you feel about it, because there are people who will micromanage you at work, and that can be very, very difficult. And you monitors everything. They change their plans.
That's about trust.
It is.
No trust, and then they'll micromanage, and then you
that's
feel
their
the stress
issue.
of that. That's their
That
issue.
is their issue, and you have to learn not to personalize that to help you, because then you get to the point where you're so deathly afraid of making a mistake that anything you do is going to get you fired, and you're going to be in trouble. And that's what you have to do. You have to work on yourself first. And I want to remind people that most companies have what they call an EAP, Employee Assistance Program. And you need to look into that, because work stress, toxic work environment, hostile environments, conflicts with supervisors, whatever it may be, can be very stressful, create tremendous amount of anxiety. And then some people are bringing it back home, which causes even more problems.
That's a good point. If you go home after work and you feel defeated, exhausted, and you're not uplifted by your work, there's something in that workplace that's not good for you, that's not healthy for you. And that is a sign. When you go home from your job, sometimes we're tired because it's hard, but you shouldn't feel anxiety, you shouldn't feel anger, you shouldn't feel overwhelmed, you shouldn't be mentally exhausted, you shouldn't be worried about checking your phone. Am I being texted? Is there something wrong at work? Your work shouldn't live in your brain after so many hours. It shouldn't be all-consuming to you.
And
that's a sign something's not right.
That's right, and that's what we were talking about earlier, is before it ever gets to that point, start standing up for yourself. So I'd recommend people looking up things on confidence, confrontation, self-esteem, some articles written by professionals that gives you some techniques and some helpful hints to help you work through those. We could go on forever, so maybe we can do this at another time and even talk about some more. But I've been trying to get Robin and I to do a podcast together, so hopefully you'll be hearing more of her, because I will take her hostage and creep in easily to finally get her to do this with me. All right, I'm going to end actually with a quote she gave me a long time ago when I wrote my book, Directions, Roadmap to Happiness. But the quote in here says, I will let go of things I cannot impact. I will not let those things impact me. I have the ability to own, change, or celebrate those things that are about me, that I can in fact impact. I thank you all for listening, and I look forward to doing this again. So have a wonderful week. And please, if you like it, please hit like and all of that other and share. Thank you.